Good morning. Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday.
You
It's
got your coffee?
I got my coffee. I do. I didn't get to share out the live this morning, so if you're just joining us, share out the live. Welcome to Coffee Talk with Sunny and Chief. I believe this is episode 13.
13.
Big 1-3. Pretty amazing how fast time goes. Welcome to Coffee Talk with Sunny and Chief. This is episode 13. We are about to kick it off with some Saturday vibes. And before we kick it off, Chief, I just wanted to start our live today by saying to all of our friends and those that were in the line of this Hurricane Helene, hoping you're all safe and hoping that your power is restored and everyone is okay. So lots of love being sent your way and positive vibes. Hang in there.
Absolutely. A lot of chaos, a lot of devastation, but a lot of people pulling together and helping one another out, which is something I always love to see. I hate that it's caused by chaos, but it's always nice to see people caring about other people.
Yeah, and that's really honestly when we see us come together as Americans, it's sad that we have to do it when it's devastating, but we do come together. And at the end of the day, that's, the positive in all of it, that we come together as neighbors, as Americans to help one another out. So I wanted to kick off today's coffee talk, as we always do, a mini recap of last night's Veterans Live. And I'm going to bounce the ball to you.
Absolutely. Last night, it seemed like we talked a lot about traumas, whether that's from childhood or from our parents or from our children, even. And that seemed to be kind of a theme, how to still be the best person despite the way we were raised, despite the way we're co-parenting, etc.
Yeah, most certainly. We never know how Veterans Live is going to go. Sometimes it's really focused on a topic. Last night, it was kind of like a free for all conversation, and we watched it kind of unfold. And it was one of our friends who came in and said, started the conversation and actually said, it was Sourpuss. She said, this was a really great conversation. We're talking about family. And these are, whether you're a veteran or a civilian, we have families, we have problems, we have things going on in our lives. So it is important to talk about it. But overall, I try to reflect on the live and I try to think of what really resonated. And there were many topics that were touched on, but it was on being able to express oneself and being able to talk about your feelings and those things that upset you, whether it's family or friend. And we did a little bit of that last night, and I thought that was pretty good because everyone participated.
We did, and a lot of times it's difficult to identify those areas, especially when we are upset. Because I think about myself, and when I get angry, especially with the children, and I don't realize it so oftentimes until I'm already into vocalizing my anger. And so, like you had mentioned, it's important to acknowledge that first step. You know what I mean? And realize, hey, I'm angry. I can change this right now.
Yeah. And we also touched on the fact that it's okay, guys. It's okay to be human and it's okay to express these emotions that we have. We were talking about how I actually made reference to the soda bottle. What we tend to do in society is repress everything. We shove everything in the soda can until one day it's just like poof and it explodes. And as a society, I made reference to the fact that when I go into work, I'm expected more hours of my entire week than I'm myself, I should say. This is a hard one to put in, but I'm going to do my very best to explain it. More often than not, we put on this hat, right? We carry this hat. I go into work all these 8 hours every single day. You're working 40 hours, some work 60 hours, and you're expected to leave your shit at the door, right? So we don't get to talk about it during the day. Then you come home and then you're faced with family, kids, the chaos, life, bills, all of that. It's an accumulation and it's overstimulating. And when do we actually take the time to address the feelings? When do we take time to talk about those things? And I mean, I don't know about you, Chief, and I want to hear it, but I know for the majority of my life, I was so tired from my day, I didn't even want to talk about it. So once again, you're shoving it in that bottle. You just keep shoving and repressing these feelings. And as a society, it's almost become the norm that we don't get to talk about our feelings. You just kind of shut up and go, you know?
Well, not only that, but I found that during my life, I didn't even have the right people that I would want to talk to about those things. And that's something that we've talked about on a couple of coffee talks now is be careful who you're sharing your energy with, especially when you're down, right? Because
Yep.
if you're trying to work out something or you're trying to resolve something, the last person I'm going to go to, if it's like a childhood trauma, is I'm not going to go talk to my mom about it. If she's the one that gave it to me, it's
Yeah.
something that I want to take to someone that I look up to, that I see has worked through this on their, themselves, that can help me out. Or I'm going to take that to someone who I know really cares and will help redirect me into a more positive mindset.
Yeah, we touched base on that last night too. And if you're just joining our coffee talk, welcome to Coffee Talk with Sunny and Chief. This is episode 13. We gather here every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We just have real conversation about real things that affect so many of us, and we don't talk about it. Today, we're just kind of recapping last night's live. It was our Veterans Live, which is hosted every single Friday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It's a live that Sunny has been hosting for the last year and a half. And some of the things we talked about were feelings. It's like taboo word. We can't talk about feelings. I know I often hear our veterans talk about how you lost your smile. You're not entitled to have feelings or express how you feel. And that goes to even our childhood. I was seen, not heard. You don't have feelings. What are you talking about? Right. So as you go through life, you're trying to make sense of the world and sense of all of the different interactions that you have, possibly even failed marriages, and you're trying to figure out exactly, no, what did I do wrong? Or there's so much to life, guys. And, we find ourselves at this phase in life. It's like, wow, it almost took me half my life to figure this all out, or still trying to, right? As our friend Sourpuss made last night, she said, when we're still trying to figure it out, and we are. Every day is an opportunity to try to figure it out. But feelings is a big one, and not one that anybody wants to talk about because there's so a stigma. It's a stigma, guys. Break stigmas. Do you want to touch on that, Chief?
It really is. It's something, especially as a veteran, that we've talked about before as well. It's not something that we generally do. We don't talk about our feelings being hurt because people would honestly laugh in our face if we went around saying, "Hey, I didn't like the way you said that," or "The way you said that hurt my feelings," because we're trained like, do what you're told, do it right now. And we don't have time to talk about all this shit. And I found, like, even with my kids, I get so mad if I ask them to do something and they don't do it right now. And I've had to challenge myself rather than say, like, why aren't they doing it right now? I have to say more like, does this need to get done right now? Why does this need to get done right now? And that kind of helps me take that break from just getting pissed off and saying, I told you to do this right now. And it's like, I'm challenging myself. I'm questioning my way of thinking because I'm aware that I'm triggered, they're not as triggered. Why isn't this as big of a deal to them? Does it need to be as big of a deal to me? And gives me that little bit of time to think it through a little bit better and find calmer words to use to get my point across so that I'm not just repeating my childhood traumas of, children are meant to be seen, not heard, do as I say, not as I do, sit there and look pretty, stuff like that.
Yeah, I know, I understand. And before I even provide any feedback on that, I just wanted to quickly say welcome to Coffee Talk, episode 13. Today's coffee is brought to you by Black Eagle Apparel. Thank you. If you guys want to try them out, they're fantastic. This blend is Freedom, and you can use the code FREEDOM for a 15% discount. Thank you once
Woo
again, Black
woo.
Eagle. Black Eagle Apparel for the Freedom Coffee. We like it. It's a smooth blend. You're absolutely right. And we talked about parenting. Oh my goodness, that was quite the topic. Even those that aren't parents were able to add value to the conversation because they were really discussing the, how they've had interactions with their own parents. And we touched base on the fact that, guys, we don't come with manuals. Our kids don't come with manuals. And every single child is different, just as we're different, right? We all have different characteristics, different strengths and weaknesses. And it's really learning about one another, even our own children. It's like, who are these little beings? That's not how I raised you. Why are you behaving like that? So it's hard. Life is hard. Raising kids is hard. And it's so important for us as adults to be able to communicate effectively because we know they're watching, right? And having an oldest child, I'm like, oh, he picked that up from me, or oh, he picked that up from his dad, because we're role modeling. And I think what's most important, what I took, from yesterday, that conversation specifically, was being able to say, I'm sorry for that, or in raising you, I thought that was the right way. And one of our friends actually said that was the piece that helped her heal so much was actually getting the apology from her mother, for instance.
And talking about it, especially to your children, is important. I found that when I'm able to explain with my words why I'm upset because of how I took something, it helps my children understand me a little bit better, because obviously they're not really sitting there saying, F you, dad, I'm not going to listen to you. I don't have to do what you say, even though that's how I feel when I ask them to do something and they don't. So by verbalizing it rather than just yelling and saying, hey, I told you to do this, I explain to them why that triggers me. And that helps both of us, both me work through that in a much more positive way than I have in the past, but it also helps them understand a little bit better. But it's a good balance. It's a hard balance too, because I'm trying to teach my kids things like good work ethic, attention to detail, you know, because that could potentially have serious effects later in life on their safety, their health, the health and safety of other people, like by pay attention to things. Think about driving. But it's more important in how we approach those situations, like you said, by talking about it to them. And it's different for everybody. All of my kids are different from 20 years
Mhm.
old down to 11 years old. And the way I talk to each one of them, the relationship I have with each one of them is very much different.
Absolutely, absolutely. There is no perfect parenting. There is no perfect parent. We're all just trying our best to do the best that we can to raise our kids to. And we touched on values yesterday, to be good human beings, go into society. And that's what I tell my kids. Your mother first, always will be. I will be friendly with you, but my job is very important. It's A, to keep you safe, meet your needs, but also to hopefully send you out into the world as a really good human. So, and I've always explained it. I'm sure you have too. Actions have consequences, with what you say and what we do. And that also goes to when we're role modeling behavior, for instance. One of the things that I've said to my kids, and they're quick to correct me, guys, when I'm out of character. And I've gotten so much better because I too, Chief, the way I raised my oldest compared to now my 16-year-old is so different. We're growing, we're learning, we're evolving. It's like, oh, I won't do that with this one. It's not the yelling that's going to get them. They may do it because they're afraid, right? But that's not teaching anything. It's just teaching more yelling. And you learn this as they start to interact with their siblings. I'm like, oh, they're yelling too. That's not the solution, you know? So we learn this through, I hate to say it, mistakes, because our children aren't mistakes, but part of the raising them and trying to figure it all out is so hard.
It really is, because we can only do what we're trained to do, what we know how to do. Like, we're not going to be the parent of the year, like right out of the get go, unless you had an amazing upbringing, some really amazing, incredible people in your life. Like, I know I had an amazing grandmother who was very loving, but she couldn't show me and teach me everything that I needed. And along those lines, another topic that had come up last night was, for the veteran community, how much easier it is to serve in a war zone than parent. And it's not even just to parent, it's, for me, it was the day to day life. Like, as a civilian at home, we have to worry about not only the kids and work and the bills and taking care of the house and everything like that. Whereas when you're on a mobilization or a deployment, your day is very, very much structured for you. And irregardless of the danger, it's still, you kind of know what to expect every single day, and there's not a whole lot of external stresses. Like, the bills don't really matter at that point, you know what I mean? And when you're at
Absolutely.
home, there are so many of these external stressors. I've been on both sides of this, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I've been mobilized without my children, but I was also in a marriage that was dual military, so I've actually been at home with the kids while my ex-wife now was deployed. And I will tell you what, I would have much rather been in her shoes, because at home, you've got to have the kids to all their sports practices, cheer, band, choir, whatever the case is. Still had to work, still had to feed them, get the homework done. It's nonstop, like from the moment you wake up to the second you go to sleep. And I think that a lot of our veterans resonate with that, whether they're parents or not. Life's hard. and we can only do the best that we know how to do. And the only way to improve is to learn from our lessons, from our past mistakes, what we've been through that make us the person that we are. And if you're trying to do better every single day by learning from your past, you will be much better and you can handle things better. You just have to change the way you think about things. And for me, I was a very negative person. I thought I would get in, my mind would get on one negative thought and then I would go straight down that hole. I would think of a whole bunch more shit and snowball this negativity. And it turned into a personality trait. And I got
Mm-hmm.
stuck in that for so long. So that the trick to that is to realize that there's an opportunity or a lesson in everything and improve from it, learn from that, and move on. And that little life hack right there can flip things around and makes you start thinking about all of your responses, all of your reactions. And is this a good one?
Absolutely. You touched base on a lot of things. First thing that just came to mind was embrace the suck, guys. We got to embrace the suck. That's where we learn. That's where the growing starts, honestly. Embracing that suck in those challenging times, most certainly. And yes, it's chaotic. It's chaotic. Some of the conversations I've had with our friends, our veteran community, has been just that. I don't know how the hell you guys do it out here. I don't want to be out here. It's chaos. It's really crazy, and I don't want to sound like the Downey Duper because there's a lot of beautiful parts to life. And that requires you recognizing the stressors. It recognizes you taking those mindful moments for yourself, investing in you, and stepping away from the noise. I'm not saying abandon your situations, like don't address your concerns or whatnot, but definitely making time for mindful moments, whatever they are for you. We've touched base on this before, whatever that is, that recreational time for yourself or with others, to decompress and be able to just kind of like reground yourself because it's so important. I always say, when I go to Europe, this is a quick one. One of the things I notice is I walk super freaking fast. And I'm like, why are they so slow? I start to get like anxious. Right? I'm like, why the hell are they walking so slow? What is the deal? Why do they close for 2 hours? Because of where we live. And everything here is go, go, go. Don't stop. Just keep freaking going. Even getting a cup of coffee is drive through. One of the biggest pet peeves I used to have, I'm like, why the hell don't they have a drive through? They should have a drive through. And it was, that was part of my healing journey. I'm like, I get it now. Sit down and have your freaking cup of coffee. Relax, have the conversation with your friend. Here, we're in the driver's seat, passenger seat. Where are we going? Let's pick up a coffee. We don't even take time to honestly enjoy the cup of coffee. And there's a huge difference between driving with a cup of coffee that you may very well spill on yourself versus sitting down, which I've done, or burning the back of your throat, whatever the case may be, or sitting down. So when you're in Europe, this is what you see. It's a lifestyle. And this is something they've created for themselves. And when you come back to the States, one of the things that I immediately start to feel on arrival is like, oh, the stress is here. I feel it the minute I land actually in the airport. And I won't go into all of that, but I feel it. But then there's no place for me to escape and go sit at that little table and have a cup of coffee, even in a Starbucks or inside of a building where everything is like outdoors. Okay. Always going back to that outdoors, get your fresh air in. But the hustle bustle and the chaos, Chief, you're right. There's a lot. It's very overwhelming. And these aren't excuses that I want us to walk away from this conversation and say, well, we'll just keep making excuses, or it sounds that way. Like, well, you don't understand. It's chaotic. Yeah, I do. We just all have different stories and we're in different roles perhaps, but we're all experiencing it. We're all experiencing the bills. We're all experiencing the chaos, the groceries, the cleaning, the kids, the sports. We all have it at some capacity. And when you add in the fact that some of us are doing it alone, single parenting, wow, let's talk about that for a minute. That's hard. That's exceptionally hard. So you had earlier mentioned knowing who to go to talk to. So important. So important. And we refer to that as identifying your tribe, identifying those people that recognize where you are, but they're not going to keep you there. They want to see you grow from there. They're going to offer you helpful suggestions. We never tell people what to do with their life. That's their journey. You have your own. Okay. You have your own life. And too often we'll find people, well, you need to do this. no, I don't need to do that. I need to figure out what I need to do. But I appreciate the, suggestion. Be mindful of that. Not everyone's journey should mimic yours. We have individual paths, and it's also really awesome to be able to walk the journey with someone else, but your stories shouldn't be the same. They should somewhat resonate, but I'm like, well, that's how you did it. And that's how we learn from one another.
You're absolutely right. And something that you had touched on there is in our culture, how we stress things, how we rush things. And I know every single one of my military brothers and sisters in here can relate when I say it's a game of hurry up and wait. And I still find myself doing that. Like I will rush my ass to get to the doctor 15 minutes early, knowing damn well that I'm going to get there, give them my number, and then wait. And I get upset. Like if my children were to hold me up from that, because, for example, if my daughter is taking a long time to get dressed and I've got an appointment, it's going to make me anxious. And I have to remind myself it's not that big a deal. I don't have to get that worked up over it. Another good example of this is I was a civilian IT manager for many years at a major corporation. And I remember one day, I actually managed the network operations center. And one day we had a network outage, which caused all of our systems and applications to go down for quite a long period of time. And as you can imagine, that costs quite a lot of money for a company like that, to the point where we might have to get insurance companies involved to cover some of this expense. And I remember I was freaking out. Like, had vice presidents coming into my closed access area, my limited access room. Everybody's nerves were up, blood pressure was going, my team was freaking out. And I was rushing to go find an engineer, an architect, I'm sorry, to ask for help. And as I was passing the break room, I saw that architect standing at the microwave heating up a biscuit. And he was being so patient. And in that moment, I realized, here I am, like blood boiling, got to get this fixed. I'm like, the one guy that could fix this thing right now is standing in front of the microwave with a smile on his face, not a worry in the world. And I realized that everyone is making this a much bigger deal than it needs to be. And he looked at me and said, we're waiting on an update to be done. As soon as it's done, I click a button, everything goes back to normal. I'm like, we just hurry up and wait. And so I realized from that moment, I'm going to be more chiefly. I'm not going to rush around. That's unbecoming. I don't need to show other people or feed into this panic and chaos. If you can stay calm and demonstrate that for other people, that is an amazing skill set and an amazing trait, and something I'll ever be grateful for just seeing him heating up a biscuit in the microwave that day. It really did change my life and the way I looked at things, because we all play into the panic, especially if everyone around us, whether that's at home, whether that's at work, whether that's on your team in your church community, try to be that calm, and that can really change the whole outcome of a situation fast.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. Even yesterday, we were obviously with recent events of weather and devastation in so many areas, Tennessee, for instance, North Carolina, and so on and so forth. It's sad, guys. These are things that happen. It happens all over our nation. It happens across all over the world, right? Devastating things happen. And one of the things that we immediately start to see is people get into panic mode for others, right? And I'm like, okay, so yesterday my advice to our friends was remember to keep them uplifted. Control the controllable. I can't control what they're going through. I can't necessarily get them out of a flooded area, but if I have the opportunity to speak to them, I want it to be meaningful. And that is offer support and love. And that can look very differently for everyone, but it's hopefully going to inspire them to, you got this, you got this, you're going to get through this, versus like I'm going to join you there in that place because you're not helping their mental health at all. And some have a very difficult time understanding that. There's some individuals that are like, wow, you weren't very empathetic. No, I am being empathetic. I recognize where you are and what you're going through, but aside from I'm sorry that this is happening to you, I have to keep it moving, and I have to motivate you to say, hang in there, you got this, a few more days, whatever the case may be.
Absolutely. So oftentimes we overreact before we even know how bad the situation is. An example can be a hurricane. It's good to prep up your house and get ready to ride out the storm, but don't let it consume you. Don't let it completely freak you out. or if you hear something or feel like somebody said or did something towards you, don't just attack them with that half-assed information. Don't just go treating people unfairly before, because you don't know what they're going through. You don't know what the truth of the matter really is until you sit down and listen. Last week, my daughter had a truancy board at school, and it really pissed me off because they had a judge there. They had like a children's division person there. The only people she knew were the principal and the superintendent, and this was like a legit board, and it was all over an accident. But when we got the letter, like her mom's like, and myself were both really pissed off about it. Like, what the hell? Why would you make this little girl face this? This is all a mistake. So I could have went into the school and just chewed ass and talked about, she was excused. She got COVID twice last year from your school. Sorry if I said a word I can't say. But long story short, I didn't do that. I went in there with a smile. I listened to the principal, and I reminded her, I'm like, we had excused absences. She checked the system. She apologized. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And I don't think it would have went that way if I would have come in just ablazing. You know what I'm saying? I calmed down before I went in to make sure that I understood exactly what was going on. I listened patiently with her, and she was so nice, such a sweet lady. But it was a simple mistake, miscommunication. They didn't get it fixed this last week because the principal was out, but they will get it all resolved. But my point is, I could have made things a lot worse, not just for my daughter, but even my other kids that are in the school. If I would have went in as upset as I felt, if I would have displayed how I felt, that would have been a whole completely different scenario.
Absolutely. You got to take a step back. And if you're just joining us, welcome to Coffee Talk episode 13. Keep tapping that screen. We do have a goal of 22K every time we go live, bringing awareness to end 22 a day. So keep showing some love. Tap that screen. Get us to 22K. Share the live out with some friends. We're here every Saturday morning for Coffee Talk. This is episode 13. If you happen to miss Coffee Talk or you're just joining us, just remember that Sunny does upload it onto her YouTube page, which is Sunny Side of Freedom. Chief also has a YouTube channel, which is 420 Chief. And of course, we also have websites if you really want to get to know our mission and understand who we are individually and then how we've come together to create Break Stigmas, which is a nonprofit. So get to know us, ask us questions. And going back to what you were saying, yeah, we don't take enough time to listen to learn. And that's where we fail often. We immediately we're reactive, right? So it takes a lot of practice not to be reactive, guys, especially when it's triggering an emotion. You want to leap into that emotion and kind of just like let it take hold, like, oh, that's it. You want to just go in there. And it's hard. It requires a lot of practice. And I can't say that I mastered that one because I have my moments, guys, where I get triggered and I have my triggers. I'll share a quick one with you. Most know my daughter was diagnosed with TD1, type 1 diabetes. And that's a huge trigger for me. It's very recent to me. It's still very kind of raw there. So when I hear alarms going off, it puts me into that trauma that I experienced as a parent. So when I hear alarms, I immediately want to, is she doing what she needs to do? I look at the sugars, I look at all of this, and if she's not responding. So it does something to me, and I'm working on it still. It's still practice, but she'll say, well, you don't have to get so upset. Like, I do. I see your numbers. What are you doing? Are you at the nurse? All of these things happen. And that's reaction, right? Reaction to a trauma. It was her trauma, but as a parent, I experienced my own. And for any parent that has a child with juvenile type 1 diabetes, my heart goes out to you because I get it. It's 365 days a year, 24/7. There is no vacation from TD1, period. You just do your very best to learn to embrace the suck of it and find ways to make the best of the situation. And there's that. That's a totally different live, which I've, over the last 3 years, have possibly contemplated talking about to have that type of support group for other parents going through it. But reaction versus taking the time to sit back and allow yourself to think about how you're going to proceed, which is not easy to do.
And you touched on something that's really hard and for a lot of folks to do, and that's simply to listen. I know I've had a hard time with that throughout my life because I was raised again, to be seen, not heard. I don't feel like I was ever heard. I feel like my parents waited to respond to me or would yell. And I noticed that I did that with my oldest son. I got custody of him when I was very young. I didn't know how to parent, but I realized that a lot of the time I didn't really care what he had to say. I didn't care why. I waited for him to stop talking to say what I was getting across. And I feel like a lot of us still suffer from that to this day. We get caught up in a conversation, we hear something, it takes us on another path, and now we're just waiting to respond. We're not even hearing what people are saying. And something that it took me a lot of practice was to look people in the eyes, stop everything that I'm doing, and just listen. And listen without the intent to respond, just to listen, to hear what they have to say, care. And sometimes it might take a second to process that, but I would rather give someone my undivided attention and give them a thought out response than to just go with this thought that just popped into my mind. And I know I'm not even listening. I'm just waiting to spew this back out. So, especially with our children, that can be difficult to do because we can get triggered so fast because of their approach with us, that respect level that kids have. And what I found personally is that's the best practice there is, because I know I will love my kids. Doesn't matter what they do, they can piss me off and I can want to get so mad, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I know I'm going to love them no matter what they do. And so for me, it's really good practice because I'm not going to cut my kids off. I'm not going to put them in that no dose category. I'm going to continue to love them and try harder to show them to make that change. And the only way that they see it is by doing that, by us demonstrating that thing that we always talk about, that action, that correct response.
Absolutely. It's practice. I know one of our friends down below in the comment section said, "That's your favorite phrase." Actually, no. But yes, I use it often because I have to repeat myself. I'm like, this is practice, so I can master this. And that's in any area of our lives. I mean, if we think back to sports, why do we have practice? So you can get better at something. And that should apply to your everyday life, your routines, whether it be your work, relationships, and how you handle situations with your manager, for instance. I have learned to just like breathe, take it in, and then not respond right away. I try really hard, unless I have to. But it's knowing when to, and it takes a lot of restraint, guys. It's discipline as well. It's like I really have to think about this so I can craft up a really great response, because you want the person receiving it to actually hear what you're saying. They'll tune you out if you respond with like aggression. You're done. And the same goes with our kids. I know with my own children, and I it resonates. My oldest especially. I thought, I'm the parent. That's why. Well, that's not really a reason, right? Be a really crappy parent. And I'd be like, because I'm the parent and I said so. And yeah, there's a little bit of truth there, because there's got to be the boundaries and respect. And I am the parent. But at the end of the day, that balance that we have to find, something's shifted so much from the time we were kids to then raising our kids, and finding the balance of having them express way too many emotions, like, and you may be able to help me with this, right? So it's like, well, talk about it, honey. Express yourself with your words. Use your words, right? So it's finding this balance with our children, not giving them like the green ticket, like just because you feel this way doesn't give you the right to proceed in this way. And they've used it to some extent as an excuse for things. And that's what I'm finding a little bit in raising kids, right? They use it as an excuse a little bit, like, well, I was feeling this way, so this is why I did it, you know? And I used my words like you told me. And I'm like, okay, so let's talk about it. And accountability, holding them accountable for how they interact with others.
Absolutely. It's again, it's in the approach, right? We can tell our kids all day to talk to us or talk to us in a certain way, and that's not going to work. I tell my kids to do all kinds of stuff, and it doesn't happen. But when I get down and I clean with them, or I sit there and talk to them while they do, I get a lot more uh, better results from that. And so what I've found is it's it never happens when we want it to be honest. Like if you're planning to have a conversation with one of like my kids at a certain time, they're going to show up at that time in the wrong mindset for that conversation. So I have to be aware of that and wait until the timing is right to have a specific conversation. And sometimes I'll do that by going on a hike and I don't even necessarily bring it up. I might plant seeds about what we need to talk and I'll wait until they step into it, and then it's a little bit more open for them to have that conversation. And I know, especially with my son, if we're walking in the woods, we did a 7.5 mile hike, and he didn't stop talking for 4 miles. But I remember at that 4 mile point when he said, "I don't really have anything else to say." I said, "You talked it all out, huh?" He goes, "I think I did." And then he enjoyed the hike with me. I was able to get some conversation in with him that was very well received. But again, it's super hard and it's different for every child. It's different for every situation because if you're going to have a hard conversation with someone, you've got to make sure that the time is right. And you've talked about it. Sourpuss brought it up last night. If you're going to go to someone with something, whether that's, "Hey, I need to talk to you," make sure that they're ready for it. Make sure that yeah, they've got the energy for that conversation because if I go to talk to my daughter after a bad game, bad cheer, she had a rough time, she's in a bad mood, she's not going to hear a word I'm saying. She's just going to be pissed off at me. That's going to piss me off even more. Shouldn't have even had that conversation. So, timing of it is is pretty key, I think, with any conversation.
Absolutely, especially if you want to have that effective communication. It always goes back to communication. Communication is in all forms, body language, verbal expression. And you're right. Anytime I've taken my kids and we're actually out there, we have the best conversations because we don't have all the distractions. The dishes aren't in the sink, reminding me to remind them. So there's all these interruptions, right? And we're in a better place. We're out in the fresh air, whatever the case may be. But absolutely, I agree with that, Chief.
And you talked about the mindfulness, take those mindful moments for yourself. And again, that is so important to do every day. At least just make a couple of minutes for you and think about how you can improve a situation, how you can prepare a conversation, whether that's for work or with your kids, or even just think about how you're going to make some time for you later on. Maybe you had a crazy busy week. Maybe you were just moving into your new ranch. You get back to work, people are missing fingers, things are crazy. Don't be spending your you time thinking about how you're going to fix this, this, and this. Maybe take some time to think about what you're going to do for yourself and don't just keep unpacking boxes. Take 5, 10 minutes to go look at the sunset, the sunrise, or go take a walk, maybe around your lake, maybe out in the woods, go play with your dog, go get some fresh air and make that time for you. How can you improve you? Don't use your you time to stress yourself out because then you're just going to have those same repeated patterns and you're not doing any good for yourself or for anyone else at that rate.
Absolutely. We don't realize how important that you time is. We don't, and it's funny because we talk about this so much. And just this week, actually, the last 2 weeks have been like hellish, chaotic. And it's funny because we were talking about this last night, talking about how everybody's going through something. It just felt like, whoa, what is going on? And a few people reached out to me and said, Sunny, did you take a mindful moment? They're holding me accountable. And I love that. It's like, what did you do for you? Or don't forget to do something for you, which makes me literally take a seat back and go, what did I do for me today? And I had to find something. And this is practice, guys. What did I do for myself today? And if the answer is nothing, you better find something to do before you call it a day. And I said to Chief yesterday, I said, well, I did something for me today. I took a mindful, literally thought about it. What can I do for me today that's going to make me like happy? And I still have it here. I bought myself Reese's Pieces, guys. Honest to God, I was at the gas station. I'm like, I know exactly what I need. I need a few Reese's Pieces and a cup of coffee. And I did that. And even though I wasn't kayaking or I wasn't walking around the lake or doing something else that I'd really rather enjoy, I was working. But even in my workday, I was like, I did something for me today because that made me happy. It did. So it's always going to look different. But just remember that you're important and whatever you're doing for yourself, however you're kind of like filling your cup, that's going to spill out onto others. So if your cup is overfilling with positive energy, you're going to project that out. If you're on E, Guys, I'm telling you, it's not going to be good. And you know what I'm talking about because you have those days where you're like, shit, I'm just tired. I've had it. I'm calling it a day, you know? And we have those days too. You're entitled to that, but don't stay there. Tomorrow's a new day to do better. And as I always say, always growing, always evolving, wanting to do better, be better, feel better, um, and keep challenging yourself as well.
And share it. You know what I'm saying? There was a few times this week um, where we have a group chat from folks that we've met here on TikTok, mostly from the Veterans Live, your Veterans Live, every Friday at 8:30 p.m. Central. But there was so much just fun going back and forth in there, sharing funny stories, pictures, videos, things like that. If you get to the point where you, like, I get to the point anyways, where I get excited, I'll get happy, I'll practice my gratefulness, my day will start to go pretty well. And then I get happy and I'll think of someone and I want to share it. So I'll reach out to my boy Rich, you my boy Rich, or Mr. Hanks. There's a lot of folks, there's a lot of people. I'm not going to name everyone, but and I'll share the love. And a lot of times they'll respond back, make me smile, make me laugh, and it just really amplifies my mood. And I say that because earlier in this episode, I talked about how years ago I would focus on the negative, and then it would be something else, and then it would be something else, and it would snowball down. What I'm explaining here is how you can snowball that positive in a in an upward, like those positive emotions, that positive state of mind, and share it with other people, and it can really grow. And I really do believe that's the way to make change. I feel like if I'm my best self, then I'm helping those around me. If I'm my best self and I'm demonstrating that, truly demonstrating good qualities for no negative intentions at all, just because I want to be the best, that's going to rub off on my kids. They'll see how I responded or reacted, and then that's me teaching them, that's me showing them. And it's the same with our friends, our community, our families. It grows. And when you share that vibe and you get somebody else smiling, maybe they'll do that to someone else. And what just happened? We just created a bigger positive feeling for those around us in our group. And that really does make change. When you change yourself for the better and you put that work in, I really do believe that those around you will, that can match that energy, it's going to change their lives for the positive too. If not, then they'll just be like, I want less of you. You're too happy all the damn time.
Oh, and Sunny's definitely gotten that Miss Positivity, sunny side. I'm like, look, this took
Tree
work, all right? I
hugger.
didn't tree hugger. I don't wake up all the time like, yay, I need coffee. And today's coffee is brought to you by Black Eagle Apparel. Get your freedom blend on their website, 15% discount code. And the code is freedom. But if you're just joining us, we are about 15 minutes to our closing time. But I did want to quickly, yeah, we're going there, too. We're going. But I wanted to close out by what you were just saying. And before I forget it, and I think I forgot half of it already, but it's I forgot it. Damn it. I only remembered a small portion. I should have wrote it down because it was really good. But it was about positivity, right? And I know one of our friends yesterday said, I know we're supposed to keep the life positive, but I just want to tell you, embrace the suck. And it was that kind of week. And I said, well, hold on a second. Let's talk about it. Guys, don't confuse it. Just because we want to encourage you to have positive energy and positive thoughts and how you carry out your day and the goals and everything else, it doesn't mean that we're dismissing the fact that you're a human being. And that goes back to, let's talk about it. You have emotions, you have feelings, and it's okay to talk about it. And you are in the right place. You know who you are. You are in the right place surrounded by friends, which is what we refer to as your tribe. Those that are going to hopefully, right, provide you with that energy, redirection, which we are getting better at, I think, as a group on the sunny side of freedom, most definitely redirecting each other back to positive vibes. Because our feedback is always just that. It comes right out of you guys. Like, guys, I needed this message. I needed to hear this. I get this even from my daily planks. People are like, thank you. I needed that message today. So do whatever you can to continuously uplift people because they need to know that you see them. I see where you are, but I don't want to see you stay there. And that's the difference. I will join you. I will be empathetic, sympathetic, whatever you want to refer to it. but I won't want to see you stay in that place. I'm going to want to see you grow, which goes back to those seeds. Keep planting those seeds. And guys, you know what time it is, right? It's Coffee Talk episode 13. And we can't have a coffee talk without, of course, get it ready. Let's go.
Oh, that one. I want to know how many other people dance to this now at home.
They're swaying. Come on, let's go. Got that sunshine in my pocket. I know.
I'm going to have my daughter choreograph me a dance to this one.
I know our friends are dancing to this one for sure. All right, all right. I know. We have to take it there because my energy boosts, their energy boosts. And if you're just joining us, welcome to Coffee Talk with Sunny and Chief, episode 13. Keeping it real, real conversation, real life. This is it. There's no sprinkles of anything. We just keep it real and keep it real with all of you. For those of you who are watching this on our YouTube channel, because these Coffee Talks do get uploaded to our YouTube, we host this live on TikTok on the at Sill Sunnyside. Every single Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Join us, provide some feedback. And for those that are here today, we would love to hear from you. Any specific topics that you'd like us to touch base on, any struggles, things that you've been challenged with and overcome that you would like us to talk about. Because that's how we learn, guys. We learn sharing is caring. You know, these are my stories, my experiences. They're Chief's stories, Chief's experiences, but we all have them, and we know that. We can't keep things very anonymous. And yes, we got to get to 22K. Thank you so much for tapping the screen. We have to get to 22K, bringing awareness at 22 a day, which is so much of what we do on a daily, which is also bringing awareness to mental health. Mental health matters. As you can see, we wear our Break Stigmas shirt, which also can be purchased on our in our bios. Sunny has a merch store and Chief has a merch store as well. Our Break Stigmas shirt is fairly new and has been introduced to the group as a nonprofit as well. All proceeds from these shirts are actually going towards uniting veterans across the nation, which is one of Sunnyside of Freedom's mission. And we actually have a meetup coming up, and I can't wait. So we're going to be
Second
concluding.
meetup.
Second meetup. That's right. And I'm super excited about that. And can't wait to share all those videos and pictures with all of you on the website. And stay tuned for more videos and things of that nature to come out and share the experience with all of you, and the hopes that we inspire other veterans to want to participate as well.
Yes, I'm so excited because I get to see not only my boy Rich, but I get to meet back up with my long lost brother 4 Points. And it's really cool because we already message, I feel like we already kind of know each other without seeing each other in person. You know, we interact off this application as well, but meeting up in person just kind of you get to give that high five, you get that hug, and then we share these moments together, you know, where we can talk about the things that maybe we're not even comfortable enough talking about on this app. And most of the time, like for me, it's not even necessarily veteran related. It's just life. You know what I'm saying? When you're with people and you've got that fire therapy, you've got the music therapy, you've got all of it going on, and you're surrounded with your peer group. It's a vibe in itself. Like that is a physical vibe that everyone, I mean, really, you can feel it. You can really feel it. And it's so neat to me because it's really diverse. Like, right? We're like so many different walks of life from at this meetup, 9 states.
Yeah.
9 different states.
We have 9 different states joining us this meetup.
It's just so cool that just the different walks of life from the different places coming together for the same reasons. And it really does build something that it's really hard to describe with words.
Most certainly. Yeah, it's really hard to put into words exactly what we all experience. And we're all experiencing a different thing. You know, when Sunny makes reference to our meetups, and, you know, I have a front row seat, and that's what I have. I get to watch all of this happen, and it's pretty freaking amazing. It touches my heart in ways that I can't fully put into words. But just hearing all of your feedback, those that are in who participate in the meetup is like pretty amazing to see that. It's like something ignites in all of you. Like you're a different person. And I saw that in our first meetup. So many came in when we had formed these relationships already on our veterans' lives. You know, you spend hours getting to know people, but then when you actually meet in person and you get to have that time, and you're right, from a Thursday to a Sunday, those are a lot of hours where we do a lot of different things and we're engaging with each other. And it's pretty amazing. But even afterwards, one of the questions I think I had for myself was, where will this end? Will they stop connecting? And what I've found is that all of you actually bonded even stronger, and you're bonded by service and not necessarily serving together. But that was so amazing to me to see how your relationships have actually just strengthened so much that you're taking it upon yourselves now to be like, I'm going to meet you, and you're meeting each other. And it's freaking phenomenal considering that I started the Sunny Side of Freedom platform. You all come together, you all got to meet each other, get to know each other, and where you all are now. And I have to say, for many of us, if not all of us, it's exactly what we needed. We lost human connection. And unfortunately, a lot of that, there are many factors as to why we lost that connection, but we lost a lot of the connection even through COVID. And part of the healing coming out of COVID was just that, guys, it's okay to not socially freaking distance. That was BS. And that's what we did as not just a country, worldwide. And for Sunny, to take it off of this platform, and that's what people don't recognize. They'll say, well, it's just a platform, it's just a live. You don't understand. Then you truly don't understand. And I encourage anyone that has those doubts, just sit in on the lives, listen to what they have to say, not so much what I have to say, because it's all there. You just have to be open to the idea. And part of the Break Stigmas is breaking some of those stigmas, right? Breaking quite a few of them, actually. And when I go through them, because I do a checks and balances for myself, I'm like, well, am I doing this? Am I bringing awareness? Are we talking about ending 22? Are we bridging the gap? Well, I'm here, guys. I'm a civilian and I'm bridging the gap, and I've been bridging the gap, and I'll continue to do just that and encourage other civilians in my community to do the same. I shared really quickly yesterday how I did that at the post office, having a conversation with him and educating him on what 22 a day is and what we as communities can do to continue spreading awareness, which is having the conversations. It starts with the conversations, the hard conversations, talking about PTSD and acknowledging the fact that we're human beings and we are entitled to have feelings. And we have to stop bottling it up and expecting people to bottle up their feelings, because that's when we find ourselves in negative outcomes, right? Whether it's the marriage that's falling apart, the relationships with our children, whatever the case may be, with the workplace. So I obviously, that's a totally different topic, and we have about 5 minutes left to our coffee talk. So I'm going to bounce it over to you for some closing thoughts, Chief.
You know what I'd really, really love to hear is I would like to hear some stories from some of the fam, some of the people that already have the shirts, and some of their interactions on how they've used, whether that's, their shirts or stickers or whatever, hats, that they've had in their communities. Because I just had a lunch meeting with a good friend of mine, and I was kind of explaining to him, the mission behind Break Stigmas, Sunny Side of Freedom, 420 Chief, and he was captivated. And at the end of it, he was really there, and he told me that his father is an Army vet, and he's going through some serious stuff, and he had no idea about any of this, and it kind of just clicked in his head, and he's like, oh my gosh, you know and so it touched my heart, because this is one of my closest friends, and he had no idea about 22. And it makes me realize that there's so many folks out there. If he didn't know and his father is a veteran, then how many people just are completely unaware? And I think that I've been hearing some positive stories lately of people going to the gas stations or concerts, wearing out some of the merch, and running into folks that either A, already follow on TikTok, or B, it introduced them to a great conversation, and something valuable happened out of that. I know my brother Rich told me a fascinating story the other day from when he was at work, And it just got me wanting to hear more of those, you know? So if you guys have any awesome stories from raising awareness out in the community, because I know so many of you are doing an amazing job about that. We all have our own creative ways of doing it, but I would love personally to hear more of those kinds of stories.
Absolutely. It's funny you say that because I shared yesterday I was at the post office and that's exactly right. He said, "Oh, my dad was a Vietnam veteran and he never talked, he never shared his stories." And that brought up an amazing conversation, a great opportunity to provide him a little bit more and tell him a little bit about our mission um, with Break Stigmas, my mission, the Sunny Side of Freedom, and what it is that I'm doing. And he was just like, wow, you're doing that. And that will always go back. If something's called to your heart, follow through with it because there's passion there and you're believing in what you're doing. And I truly do believe and have always believed, even though I've had some bumps in the road, and that's part of it, guys. And just keep at it, but just this week, one of our friends who will actually be at the meetup said to me, "Sonny, I was wearing your SSOF shirt and someone came up to me. This was in Louisiana. I know that logo." And she's like, "You do?" And she said it made for such a great conversation. And her, as a veteran, was able to say, "And I'm going to this meetup. So this is actually real. This is actually happening." But the awareness, and then that's what we talk about. When we put together our shirts, I know for Sunny, this is so much more than just a shirt or, a catchphrase. Some people, I think, confuse that, like, oh, they're all hashtagging 22 a day. There's action behind these words, guys. We're actually doing something out here in our communities, educating, spreading the awareness, and having conversations because that's how it grows. And we're doing other things, obviously, on our social media platforms as well to do just that. It's a collective, it's not just a one and done. I did it for the month of blah, blah, blah because it's Mental Health Awareness Day. No, it's 365 days people struggle. This is a real thing. And that's the stigma that we have to break. We're going to be talking about this. We're not just going to be talking about veteran suicide for the month of September. No, we're going to talk about it every day. We're going to hashtag it every day. PTSD every day. Mental health every day. And that's what you'll find is our flag on the back of our shirt. So hopefully, and our friend Frizz actually went to a concert last night and had some great conversations as he was wearing his Break Stigma shirt. And that's what it's there for, guys. It's your like an open conversation piece. What's your shirt mean? What is that? And we've taken it a little further. We've created stickers with our QR codes, and we're placing those bad boys, giving those out so people can visit our websites and get to know us a little bit more. And like I said, listen to learn, guys. Be open-minded to people. Be open-minded to what it is they're doing. And we have about 2 minutes before we close out Coffee Talk. Did you want to add anything additionally, Chief?
I was just going to give a big special shout out and thank you to Frizz for the interview the other evening, telling his story, adding some very valuable information. And just a reminder, Chief will be gone. Next week, I'm going to the Military Influencer Conference in Atlanta, Georgia. So I will not be live on Monday and Thursday. I will resume next Saturday evening. And that reminds me, we have tonight, Saturday, we're just vibing. I don't know if I'll play Melters, but we'll definitely have a good vibe tonight. Rob's wood might be wet, so somebody else might have to host the fire. And then we have Sunny Side of Freedom Free for All tomorrow night, 21:30. That's 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 8:30 Central. Are you doing it 9:30?
Um, I could do it. I think I'm going to change it to 9 p.m. Eastern time only because, guys, I get tired and then I have to get up for work and bring my daughter to school pretty early. So I think I'm going to start changing that to like a 9 p.m. for sure.
Okay. And you have a
And
drawing tomorrow, right?
that's exactly it. So yes, one of our friends, Melissa Designs, she does amazing woodworking pieces. She had put out a video. She is actually going to be donating a piece worth $222 for whoever wins. And since I did write out like 1,000 tickets, we're going to be picking from those tickets because she did want that to be a part of our SMAFL, which was hosted last Sunday. So I'm going to be doing like a little bit of a continuation that will be the only prize, and it'll be a very short little quick pick, but I'm excited about that. I have to connect with her today to make sure that is going to happen tomorrow. I will do my best to be on your live this evening. I do have plans this evening to be at my daughter's. It's her birthday weekend. So, but I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. guys, continue to lead with love, lead the way, and be open minded to receiving people, messages. Listen to learn and understand. That is the only way. Honestly, keep speaking your truth. Find your truth. If you don't know what that is, take time for yourself. We talked about this today. Make time to have the mindful moments so you can actually decompress, figure out what direction you're headed in, and redirect your thoughts, which requires a lot of practice. We can easily get caught up in a negative mindset, and it's extremely sometimes challenging, exhausting at times, but it can be done. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. I have found that I went from not being able to do it to now like kicking my own butt in my own head and say, knock it off. I have these conversations, guys. I'm just telling you, the voices in the head, I'm like, knock it off. Freaking knock it off. Get a coffee. Get out of your funk. And we call it the funk. We have them. And, we had a friend last night who said, what a freaking shitty week. I had to embrace the suck. Yeah, we have to embrace the suck. That is where we grow from. And yes, you can do it. Lean into your supports, lean into your friends, and know who they are. They're showing up for you. They're really, truly showing up, and you're going to feel it. You're going to know who genuinely supports you and is invested in you and what it is that you're doing and want to see you grow. And I'm not talking about popularity, but I'm talking about wanting to see you grow as a person. Genuinely cares. So lead in love and lead the way. Thank you for joining us. This was Cawfee Talk with Sunny and Chief, episode 13. Our coffee was brought to you by Black Eagle Apparel, Blend Freedom. Thank you once again. If you guys want to try out their coffee, veteran owned, it is a 15% discount code FREEDOM. With that being said, have an amazing weekend, guys. Much love to all of you. Lead in love. Lead the way, be the change you want to see in others, be the difference. It starts with you. And imagine if we were all leading the way, it would be a much different world. And having to do a puzzle as I'm closing us out. So I apologize for the interruption. Thank you, Tik Tok. Stay sunny, stay spicy, always make it count. Much love to all of you. Thank you, Chief, once again for joining me for Cawfee Talk. Much love, guys. And thank you for getting us to 22K. See you guys tomorrow night. Bye bye.